90% of the videos on YouTube don't get more than 1,000 views.
Followers doesn't mean anything. How are you going to stand out from these other sources of content? I think anything needs a proper marketing research, even podcasts.
I think most people don't do this step.
These platforms, they change the algorithm every couple of months.
I'm sure people have come to you, Ibrahim, I want to go viral.
Everyone wants to go viral.
Everyone wants to go viral. How do I do that?
I don't think there is one recipe for virality. I don't think it exists. The content that you're competing against is from everywhere in the world.
Think about this. I'm not gonna fucking buy subscribers, but I'll do some of the other things that maybe Ibrahim suggested.
Yeah. Brands need to understand the impact of podcast advertising versus other channels. Guess what? The impact you have on a podcast audience is way stronger than any other channel. So it may be limited in terms of reach, but in terms of impact, people are way more dialed in on podcasts than any other channel. What you need to constantly be doing is...
Ibrahim Jabri is a media expert and host of the Below the Fold podcast, the #1 marketing and advertising podcast in the MENA region. In this episode, he shares his insights on distribution, algorithms, podcast growth, and the challenge of going viral in today's content-fueled world. Did you know that 44% of podcasts stop after episode 3? So that means all that time, energy, and money is just wasted, and you never get to truly see the benefits of podcasting. So if you want your show to stay alive and healthy, you can book a call in the link below, and let's get started today.
Thanks, Khalid. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited for this podcast.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. So just to I always like to give Ibrahim, the audience, context of how we met. So me and you met, I think, maybe it was 9 months ago now at the Next Broadcast Media, that networking meetup that we did. Shout out Lemmy and Adil. Love you guys.
Yeah, shout out.
And yeah, we got to talking, and Adil had told me a lot about your podcast. He's like, you have to meet this guy Ibrahim. He has a great podcast, whatever. And then you ended up showing up like an hour later, and we had a great conversation.
Did I show up an hour later? I'm sorry about that.
Well, that's fine. It's all good.
Okay.
And then I did some research on about yourself and the podcast and what you do. And what I wanted to do for today, Ibrahim, is really tackle two different areas. I want to understand your expertise in the marketing, the data sides, and I know you've been focused traditionally on the distribution. You're a numbers guy. I know you studied accounting and finance, so that's the area that you like to play in. Yeah. But also, how has that translated to your podcast? What's your vision for the show? And dive into a couple more things. All right. But before we get into everything, Ibrahim, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
A little bit of background. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ibrahim Jabri. I've been working in the media industry for about 14 years plus now. I started a podcast about a year ago, a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And I have no idea that I would be here one day talking to you. I guess I can add some input, some value in marketing and media planning. That's predominantly my expertise, performance marketing. My podcast Below the Fold has been a great space for me to meet new people, to network with industry experts, to expand my network, and I think also to build a bit of I guess my personal image. Which is an interesting space. That is kind of trending nowadays, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, like personal branding is very, very popular now. It's like the buzzword you hear on like LinkedIn, and I've had lots of conversations on the show about it. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a personal brand.
Sure. But
it's helping a little bit.
Of course,
it's giving me a little bit of exposure. And yeah, that's it. That's,
okay.
I guess a short intro.
No, of course, man. Whatever you're comfortable to share, of course. So I want to start from here, Ibrahim. So I know you. So I watched the podcast you were on with, I think, New Talks or whatever. I can't remember what the name was called. Sorry if I missaid that.
Yeah, that's right. That's the name of the podcast.
And you talked about two different tracks when you look at advertising. There's the creative side, the storyboarding, the messaging, and so on. And then there's the distribution side, more of the analytics. Which platform are we going to go on, and so on. So I know from your experience, your expertise mainly has been on the distribution side, right? So and this is where I think you would have a very interesting input on this, because you've had this experience of distributing channels. when you come to, like, if I was, let's say, someone that came to Ibrahim, okay, I'm gonna launch let's say a new podcast, right? What's the process you go through to analyze which channel to go on? Like, or what are the questions you would be like asking me?
The first thing I would think about is who's your target audience. So I would ask you, okay, well, who are you trying to speak to? And if you tell me my target audience are males, females, 18 to 35, that have an interest in the content your podcast is going to be about, then I'll say, okay, I'll go to my research tools, my marketing tools. There are plenty. And I'll start analyzing and researching what kind of channels and media does this audience consume, do these people consume, right? So if the research or the analysis tells me that the main platforms are, I don't know, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, they spend this much time on this channel, they like to watch this program, they like to be outdoors, these are also the other activities that they like to partake in. So I gather all these insights that can then help me formulate or identify what are the right touch points, to engage with this audience. And this will start to help map out a media plan, right? That is comprised of formats and channels that then should then inform a little bit the creative side, right? Because these touch points all have certain formats that you will use to engage with this audience,
sure.
Right? Media vehicles, we call them. And then based on these formats, you inform the creative teams who are going to be building the message and the content that should perfectly fit within these formats, right? So that's the first stage, I'd say.
Yeah.
But then there are a number of other, I guess, steps.
Could you walk us through that? Because I think it'd be interesting for the audience to understand what like an A to Z of this kind of looks like. Because what listening to you, what I realized is I think a lot of people, when you want to be a content creator, you want to be a podcaster, I think most people don't do this step. You know, like, for example, I'll use my show as an example. When I started my podcast, it's not like I did any research or like nothing. I just started and then just put it on all the channels. And then after time, I started to figure out, okay, which channels were working better, and, you know, started twisting things and adjusting. But that's probably not the most efficient way to do it. And I think this applies to so many things that we neglect the market research part.
Yeah. I think anything needs a proper marketing research, even podcast.
Yeah.
You know, because at the end of the day, you are trying to convey your message to a group of people. These group of people have select taste and select content that they like to follow. And then you need to be very strategic in how you distribute your content. You know, how do you get these people to come in and listen to your podcast? So, as I said, step number one is understand their media behaviors, right? You could also look into any other similar channels that they're following, right? And what these channels are doing, right? If there's any competition out there for you, like healthy competition, right? Because you also want to be mindful that these guys, this group of people, for them to come and listen to your show, they're going to have to take some time off other alternatives.
Exactly, true.
Right? So how are you going to stand out from these other sources of content? Step two would be to ask and figure out, all right, what do you want from this group of people? Do you want them to be aware of your content, or do you want them to take action, to sign up, right?
That's a great point.
Do you want them to buy a product? All right. Do you want them to like purchase a subscription? This matters a lot because this will then entail what kind of call to action you want on the format, or what do you want the format to produce for you? Do you want it to be the media format, right? The media vehicle. Do you want it to be an immersive experience, like a full screen video, for example, so that you can convey your message? loud and clear, or do you want the format to have a button that people can, click and go to your podcast? So all these different channels and touch points that we've identified in step 1 have different options, I would say, right? So let's take, for example, Instagram. Okay, Instagram has large formats for video, and it also has static image ads, right? That have a clear button, that make it more enticing for users to click on, and these are very useful if you're trying to drive traffic, for example, right? So step 2 is knowing what action you want from the end user, right? So that you can then pick not just the right touch point channel, but also the right format in order to get the right action from the user. So that's in terms of picking the format, but there's also other things that will come from what action you want from the user, which is the buying model that you want to go after, or the buying metric. If you want people to be aware, you probably want to buy impressions, or you want to buy views. If you want people to come and engage with your content, you want them to land on a specific landing page or your podcast, you probably want to buy clicks, or you want to buy landing page views. So the buying model is also another element that you need to figure out in step 2. I guess these are the 2 steps I would say that would probably sort of summarize a good approach for media planning.
Yeah, dude, no, that's actually very interesting for me to hear, because this is why I love doing what I do and having these conversations, because when I sit and listen to experts, they point out things that I'm not aware of. For example, when you were just talking now and you're like, what is the taste of my audience, the one I want to target, all that. The point I didn't maybe consider is what action do I want that to have? Because that's closing, that's kind of closing that loop. And that's something I think we don't take into account enough. If you're in marketing, this is probably, your life and this is what you do. But people who, like myself, who don't really know about this, we don't have this information and this knowledge. Now, I'm sure you've had this question a million times, but it's something I haven't had the chance to speak to an expert about. So, virality. I'm sure people have come to you, Ibrahim, I want to go viral.
Everyone wants to go viral.
Everyone wants to go viral. How do I do that? But so, and then there's the famous examples of like the guy on the skateboard drinking the ocean spray and like got hundreds of millions of views, and it's like, why? And you don't know what. So the question I start thinking about is, because people talk about you can engineer virality, but that was not let's say that small example, that was not engineered. It was, I think there's an element to virality that is just in the ether, random. Like there, you know what I'm saying? It's just there. So when someone comes and tells you that, or at least from your perspective, how do you look at virality and that whole concept?
I don't think there is one recipe for virality. I don't think it exists. I think there are some patterns, right? So one of the patterns that I see is novelty, for example, like something that's not been done before, something that's new, right? And I think the ocean spray skateboard video is a great example. Like, who would have expected a video like that, right? To go viral. It just looked really cool. Yeah. Right? This guy really having a good time, chilling, drinking ocean spray.
Yeah, old music, skateboard, not overproduced, just 100%, me. Yeah.
100%. But it was unique, right? I think that's the element that sort of made it stand apart, right, from other type of content. So again, that novelty part. And even if you look at the people going viral today, what's his name? What's the name of this famous now fitness influencer?
You're gonna kill me, bro. He's been on like so many podcasts and he's been blowing up my thing. He raced speed and he lost. What's his name?
He raced speed and he lost.
Yeah. What?
I forgot his name, but I mean
Ashton Hill or something.
Yes,
I think yes, him, right? Yeah.
Ashton Hall.
Sorry, yes.
Ashton Hall. I mean, even you look at his content, it's also not crazy, right? Well, a little bit. The guy is really ripped, but it's also very unique, right? It's new. You don't really see prior to his content. Have you seen anything like that before on the platform?
Probably not.
Like,
Yeah.
Someone dipping his face in iced water, and then running with a mask on, next to a G class.
Yeah.
Sprinting basically next to a G class, and basically just showing his muscles, or his toned body in the video. So again, the pattern here, novelty. It's something new, highly edited. Some people say that you really need a great hook for your video to go viral. I agree. I think probably a good hook will get people to watch longer, which per se will inform the algorithm to show your video to more people, right? And it's true, but again, then you land on another video that's going viral. You come across another trend and you have no idea why. You know what I mean? So there are some patterns. If you follow Adam Mosseri, he's the head of Instagram. One of the things he said that will get the platform to prioritize your reel versus others, or one of the ratios that he said he looks at, or his team looks at, is the share to reach ratio. So how many people share your video versus how many people it reached, right? This is the most important ratio that the platform
I didn't know
at.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
It looks at in order to show your reel to more and more people, right? So the shareability of your content. So I guess that's my main advice for people. Just try to make your video more shareable, right? And this is another, I guess, ingredient that you could test in this virality recipe that everyone's trying to I guess build.
Yeah, no, I think you made a good point that there's no formula. There are patterns that you can maybe take inspiration from, and like, okay, they did this in this way. And what you said earlier in the conversation is, when we're like, you're launching content or whatever, go look at the ones that have gone viral and like study it. Yeah. And this is where the next challenge comes in, I think, in marketing, and so particularly I think in social media. What I've learned, Ibrahim, through my journey of doing this, because it's just been me, so I've just been learning, trying, testing things out, is the challenge is you need to completely understand each platform. For example, the Instagram thing that you just shared, I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was that metric. Okay, YouTube, I've studied, I've worked with a coach, so I know it's about the click-through rate, the watch time, the audience engagement. So but click-through rate and watch time are like, each platform it's these two that are the most important. All these, it's nice to have too. So I think it becomes, so let me just show you my example. So for example, I've been posting now on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, YouTube, for let's say consistently for the last 6 to 9 months. And for example, my TikToks rarely get more than 200 views, whatever, even shorts, some shorts do better than others. And through that process, I've had to learn about like content, storyboarding, what parts of the conversation should I do, how do I capture your attention with like the beginning. So the question I start to think about is, I'm like, okay, I've done this for a while now, but I don't know what's going wrong. Is it the parts of the video I'm taking? But I've noticed over time, the choices I've made and the parts of videos I've selected have improved. Yeah. So then that's where I'm curious, to learn from you. Like, that's where I get stuck, and I think a lot of people get stuck in this 200 view range on like TikTok and Instagram and whatever. So what are we doing wrong, or what is it that we're not understanding? Because I think it'd be useful for people to hear that.
Look, there's one thing to point out also on following two key metrics per platform. You need to be mindful that also these platforms, they change their algorithm every couple months, 6 months. So you might be working hard for entire month, trying to get your content to be aligned with the algorithm, and then suddenly, bam, they change the platform. They might add a new format. They might, change the algorithm, and that will impact your content, right? So you also need to be connected and aware on what are the latest changes, right? And act quickly. You need to be very quick. Recency, it's very important. How to get past the 200 views threshold? Interesting. If you listen to Gary Vee, with Gary Vee, one of the things he says is just keep posting. Like, don't care. You shouldn't care about the numbers. Like, don't look at the numbers. Like, it doesn't matter. Just keep posting, and one day this one video will just go viral, right? For the same reason we mentioned earlier, for no reason. For no reason.
Exactly.
Just keep posting, right?
Yeah.
That's perhaps advice number one from Gary Vee, and I stand by that, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't let the numbers discourage you. Just keep posting. The other thing I would say is podcast content, right? These shorts that we're producing on social media, this is podcast content. One of the feelings that I get is, man, there's just too many of this podcast content out there.
There is, by the way. That's a good point.
It's not something new today anymore, right? It's been happening for years now. It was engaging perhaps when it first started to come out, but now maybe it's not something that's too unique. So,
too different. It's not that different anymore.
So on the novelty pattern that we spoke about earlier, we're not really hitting the mark, right? We're not ticking that box.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
And also I feel the challenge with podcast content is getting a really strong hook before the video, right? Because you don't really have much space or flexibility in editing the content and changing words or creating an intro, right? You have to take an excerpt from the video and just, you might, be able to trim the beginning and then the end, and maybe, cut some parts in the middle, but you really can't direct, a video that will have a kick-ass hook, right? You can put a hook in the form of a sticker, maybe at the beginning, which is with a little sound effect. I tried to do that. It worked a little bit, but I think that part doesn't help.
Yeah,
that doesn't help. And I mean, TikTok. You mentioned posting these videos on TikTok. TikTok is a crazy platform, man. Like, the type of content that people are watching over there is wild. You know what I mean? I feel like podcast is a bit too serious for TikTok. You know what I mean?
I never thought of that, honestly. Yeah, you might have a point there.
We're like millennials trying to fit with Gen Zs, basically. And
true.
We can't sit with them.
Basically. We're trying. We're
trying.
Yeah.
I think we were better off with the boomers, bro.
Yeah, I think it's especially at this phase. Yeah, for sure. I think that's our target audience.
I was told. So I once sat with a couple of creators. Each had like 500,000 followers. I think one of them had like 1 million, and they were basically advising me that. Or they were telling me to shoot content with a green screen in the back, right, and comment on like news, articles, other videos, and give expert comments. I don't know if you've seen these types of videos, right?
Like they hold the mic like this,
you hold the
like
mic,
a movie, or like
you
it's
see
this,
a guy
you point
like
thing,
doing
it's a
the
video,
signal like
yeah.
Apparently this stuff is happening now, but I have a feeling it's also dying a little bit.
Yeah.
So I would say just what you need to constantly be doing is trying new things.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to podcast content, it has its community. You can grow it. right? Uh, but it's limited, you know, and I'm in peace with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's okay. And it doesn't have to be massive, right? You do have these outliers that have a lot of following, right? And they get really good guests, I guess, like Joe Rogan, Stephen Bartlett, right? Jay Shetty. And that's the other thing also is the guest, right? The guest plays a big role in like how big you grow, right? Your platform on any channel.
Yeah.
That's one way to grow. But I think the number of people that are interested in podcast is limited, right? So I think, you know, podcasters need to be at peace with that. But you know what? Guess what? The impact you have on a podcast audience is way stronger than any other channel. So it may be limited in terms of reach, but from terms of impact, people are way more dialed in on podcasts than any other channel, right? So for the brands out there that are listening to this, you know, I'm pretty sure they can second that, you know, those that have sponsored a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you mentioned something there. What I've really taken from listening to Ibrahim is recency. Because everything you talked about, the platforms are changing. You have to constantly be testing, but you need to also be on, like, you have to be on top of this, you know, like, oh, the algorithm has changed. These are the new metrics that are being considered. Do research on what type of content that is, and then quickly start putting out that content. So you really have to be on top of this. And the point you made about the views and whatever, I for me, on a personal level, I reached a point, I'm like, okay, obviously I want to improve. I always want them to be better, you know, get better. But at the same time, for example, mine's a weekly show. Like, I don't also have the mental time to like invest so much time into this. I have to get episodes ready, keep moving. So it's a benefit, it's a blessing and a curse, because I have to move so fast. I don't have time to think of it. But at the same time, I would like to put more time into figuring that out. And you touched on brands and podcasting. I'm gonna put a pin in that for a sec and come back to it, because I want to touch on something else with the branding side. So you said brands are spending in the MENA region between 60 to 80%, you know, digitally, and that internet and social media penetration here is one of the highest in the world. YouTube consumption here is one of the highest. So I had the pleasure of having Faris on the show, and he was talking about how, because I asked him this question, I'm like, because listening to your conversation on Nuta, you're like, we adopt quick, but we still lack the innovation part, right? We wait for things to get tested in Western markets, and then, okay, that works, then we'll bring it here. But listening to what Faris says, like he's like, things are changing now, because the demographic of the MENA region is young. In Western countries, it's starting to, you know, age. And he's like, so then I was like, okay. And obviously the youth are the ones that pick up, they're the ones that adopt the tech first and the fastest. And if we're the fastest adopters, the question I start to think about is, should we be now, people in the ad tech space, because you said there's a big opportunity there, should we be focusing on developing technologies catered to the youth, since that would have maybe the biggest impact or accelerate our path to, you know, innovation? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it depends what are you trying to do with the youth? You know, what kind of technology? What's the objective or goal of the technology you're building? Yeah. Right. You have to remember that, yes, we have a young demographic in this part of the world, highly engaged. There's a very high internet penetration. They're all very, you know, digitally savvy, but they have access to content from all around the world, right? So with all these things, you still competing with global content, right? Everyone here watches content from the US, right? How many people, you know the likes of Logan Paul, Jake Paul? They go crazy when they see Prime, for example. But I still think that, yes, like you said, this doesn't mean that you can't innovate from here. You can't create something that's unique. But I think it's it stands for, even if you're based outside, you know, anywhere in the world, right? The content that you're competing against is from everywhere in the world, right? You might see content that's going viral that's coming from, I don't know, Southeast Asia, right? So yeah, I mean,
I guess what I'm trying to, sorry to interrupt you, but what I guess the point I'm trying to get across is, I'm trying to figure out, how do we close that gap? You know, how do we go from just being the adopters and consumers to the innovators? And that's why the youth aspect, I'm like, if that's the demographic, then it makes sense to create technology that they would adopt quick, because that will then further us, you know, to move forward. But just a thought.
yeah, but I mean, when you say innovate, do you mean content or do you mean technology? Technology?
Yeah.
I think the discussion about innovating from the Middle East is happening. You know, we are innovating from the Middle East. When you look at these big tech companies and the products that they're rolling out, a lot of the products they're rolling out are coming to MENA first, and then global.
Oh, okay.
So this is happening.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. This is happening. When you look at the investment also from the region here and things like AI and fields like AI, for example, it's massive. If you look at AI in specific, I don't know where I saw this stat. UAE is like number 2 or number 3 in the world when it comes to how advanced it is in AI adoption and AI investment. Yeah. So I think this is already happening, right, in terms of building the technology from here. If you look at content in specific, there are a lot of channels that are, that are born and bred out of the region that have gained a lot of global popularity and dominance. Look at Mo Vlogs, for example.
Yeah.
When he came to fruition, he was the fastest growing YouTuber in the world. He was the fastest YouTuber to reach 10 million subscribers ever.
Wow.
So we do have people that are innovating from the region.
Yeah. I guess the point you made about, I wasn't aware that even products that are being innovated or developed elsewhere are coming to our market, like to these markets first. But it does make sense if we're the biggest consumers, then, it makes sense to test it out here first, and then we see, how it's going to fit into other markets. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you about, Ibrahim, is this. This is a genuine question. I'm like, I need your help. Okay, let me explain why.
Yeah.
So, spending money on podcast advertising. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the context, and then I want to hear what you say.
Yes.
So, since I started working when I worked with my YouTube coach and I learned the platform and I understood things, I started to notice, I know who's bought followers, I know who's boosted stuff and whatever. Yeah. So I'm like, it's very clear, very clear. Yeah. Okay, you just started the channel and you have 15K on like a video. Sure. Okay. Yeah. This is my problem, and this is where I think I have a very negative bias about this, because for me, and I debate this all the time in my head, I'm like, is it because I want to make sure that the audience I'm building is actually organic and like real? And because I believe, you can have a lot of followers, but like if there's no one really there, like a loyal audience that follows you properly, it's not in the long term, it's not going to serve me. And maybe because also from my perspective, the podcast is really me. So like, I'm like, I always want to like earn what I kind of get. I'm like, okay, if it takes longer, it's fine. So, but I also know that there's a time and place and a use and a need for paid marketing and all that kind of stuff. So what are your thoughts on that context? Like, what advice would you have for me? Because I think in my brain, maybe there's a perspective I have that's maybe biased or something I'm not seeing. So would love to hear your thoughts.
Look, I get your bias, but I think you should test and learn.
Okay.
Right? And I don't think there's anything wrong if you know that there are people that could be interested in your content and you just want to give them the option to view it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like if you take YouTube, for example, I think pre-roll ads are kind of overreaching maybe for a podcast, right? But there's another format that's really cool that you can explore, which is in search ads, which is basically you show your videos to in the search results pages to search queries, right?
Okay, so keyword based kind of?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keyword based. So someone is looking for I want a useful content on podcast marketing, for example, right? And you give them our podcast.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a great, way to push your video to someone who may not have come across your video organically, right?
Yeah.
And also you are being useful. So from the end user, you're giving him a favor.
Yeah,
right?
I'm providing
doing
value.
a favor by providing value content. So I'm with that.
Okay.
I think this is a good way to spend your money on advertising, and this way you can reach more people. You can accelerate your growth, and you're not really forcing anything here. You're just showing your video on that search result page, and then it's up to the user to voluntarily click on that ad, and then if they like the content, maybe they can subscribe. So there are certain formats that I think it's a little bit overreaching to use, like the pre-roll, like as I said, but the in-search results is one. I tested a few things.
Okay. What's been your experience
on YouTube?
Yeah, what's been your
I think the
experience?
in-search results was a good one because it made sense. So I basically push my videos to marketing keywords. Anyone that's looking for marketing keywords, I push them the videos. So it makes sense. I've tried this format to grow subscribers, which is basically a vertical video. It has a call to action to subscribe, but people will still need to go to the channel and subscribe. I've tried it for some time, and I saw really good results. Like it grew subscribers by a lot, but it was a little bit sketchy. Like it was too many subscribers at once. And it didn't really increase the engagement with the overall content. So people subscribed from this ad, but it didn't grow the number of views or organic views from every following video that I posted. So I stopped it.
Okay.
I felt like the people that I subscribed were there was a question mark on them, even though it was an ad from Google, right? It was via YouTube. It wasn't like some of these sketchy buys. Right? Don't do the sketchy buys because these are fake followers. That's on YouTube. On Instagram also I've tried a few things. I've tried promoting the channel to non-followers, and I think that's all right. You could absolutely do someone a favor or be useful, right? Provide value by pushing your channel to someone who's looking for something similar, right? Because you can absolutely do that. You can in the targeting, when you set up a campaign, you can pick what kind of interests and content this target audience is looking for, and so what you're doing is being relevant, boosting the profile. Also, I tried pushing a video with a link that goes to the podcast offline. Sorry, not offline, but to the digital streaming platform, or actually I linked it to the Linktree. Linktree has, I'm sure you probably have a Linktree, right? Has all the digital streaming platforms. So I linked the ad to that, and I optimized for
reach,
clicks. Because I'm trying to drive action, right?
Okay.
So I pushed that ad with an optimization for clicks, and it didn't work that well.
Okay.
It didn't work that well. So my advice is, test. There's nothing wrong with testing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Why not? What's holding you back?
So two things you said that really give me a new perspective. Number one is the thing that it makes me more motivated to do it is I'm operating from the mindset. It's not just that I want you to be a follower. Like I might be able to provide value to someone who really needs it, which is what the whole point of the show is. So that's a really brand new. I've never thought of it like that. But the thing, where the break comes in my brain, or the hesitant comes in, is on the second part. When you, for example, the experience you had with the subscribers and whatever, that's what terrifies me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm happy to do the first part, but I don't like subscribers, especially because that's the true value. And you know better than I do that. Getting followers on Instagram is one thing. Getting subscribers on YouTube, getting views on YouTube. I watched the podcast. This guy is like a YouTube expert. He's done like 50 billion views with like people, help them get all this stuff. Yeah. He's like 90% of the videos on YouTube don't get more than 1,000 views.
Yeah.
That's fucking insane. Yeah. Insane. Look how much is getting uploaded a day? Billions. So like there's 100,000 or something, I don't know, doing the math, that are getting views, which is absolutely crazy. And so that's why like I'm trying to do it organically, but I think at the same time it should be fine for me to test, because when I operate it from that mindset, and it's just about, hey, this is here if you want it. Yeah. That's it. The energy that I come with, or the motivation for me, that doesn't feel like shady or sketchy. You know what I'm saying? The integrity to me is very important. Yeah. I could be right, I could be wrong, but what I see at the same time, Ibrahim, is it blows my mind how many people like buy followers and clicks. And how it'd be like 50,000, and you look at the YouTube video, 40 views. Get the fuck out of here, bro! Like, what are you talking about? And I don't know why, but optics also, we care about optics for some reason. Yeah. We don't look behind the hood.
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's gonna, look at you in a bad light, because if you're trying to do what's right for you, you know what I mean? If you're not trying to test the waters, if you're trying to, even if you bought subscribers, so what? So it's, what does that mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is this gonna stop you from creating good content? No. Will it stop you from growing organically if one day you had some really good content and great guests, and that basically made your video go viral? No, it won't stop you. So
fair. Fair. Yeah.
You can still buy subscribers.
Yeah.
And do some crazy good content, and also go viral one day, and become famous.
Yeah.
So these two are not, the one doesn't stop the other. You know what I mean?
You know what?
Guess what?
Fair.
Some people are already doing that today. They're buying followers and they're creating really good content. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you have to know how to balance, I guess. But I really get the trying to grow organically, because it'll teach you more. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
It'll
exactly.
let you, be way more, I guess, knowledgeable about what works, what doesn't work, right?
And by the way, thank you for that. That is, I never looked at it that way until you said it. I'm like, why can't it be this and that? I guess, I don't know. Again, that's why when I started this part of the conversation, I said there is a bias in there. So I think that is what has been playing into it. So really, thank you. That gives me a whole different way to think about this. I'm not gonna fucking buy subscribers, but I'll do but I'll do some of the other things that maybe Ibrahim suggested. Yeah. So I wanted to come on to the podcast. So first of all, guys, if you guys haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast, it's called Below the Fold. It's mashallah, it's the number one media advertising marketing podcast in the region, and in less than a year. So you should be really, really, really proud of yourself, bro. I've had a pleasure of watching some of the episodes. as you can clearly see, I don't know much about marketing. So it's been very useful to me, to learn and to understand. What was interesting for me is, I'm curious is, and because you said on that podcast that you had an idea for a show, but you decided to go down this track because it made the most sense. You had the expertise, the knowledge, networking connection. So I was so curious. I first want to understand, what was the other topic you were considering to launch a podcast about?
I was interested in talking about what is it like for a man to live in today's world, in today's age and world. Right, especially for an Arab man, Muslim, and deal with today's challenges.
Sure,
right?
sure, yeah.
Whether at work, whether outside of work, in life, fighting temptations. I think it could be a dramatic and funny.
Yeah, of course, for sure.
Type content.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this is something that I also personally am experiencing.
Sure.
So it's something that I wanted to share with the world, and I'm sure there are plenty of others that could relate.
Well, right here.
Right
here.
There you go. See?
Yeah, 100%.
Then one day, actually, I was invited to speak on a podcast, talk about podcast advertising, and the idea changed to do something more related to advertising. I think one event followed the other, and
sure.
And I decided to do something that's more related to my experience, because I also felt that I could bring in more guests given my network in this space.
Sure.
I'm still compelled to do the other one.
Do it.
I do have a friend that's doing something quite a little bit similar.
Shout out Kun Rijal.
That's what's up. You
shout
know.
out, of course, yeah.
Shout out Kun Rijal.
We've had Kareem on the show.
Shout out my homie Kareem.
Yeah, big shout out,
bro.
Habibi.
He's doing something very similar.
Yeah.
So he talks about Kun Rijal, which means man up.
Yeah.
He's basically touching more on the mental health side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he could talk about that topic or that idea, but I'm happy to explore. Not really looking into launching another podcast at the moment, but this could come. Could come.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know what? Like on Kareem, I had the pleasure of having Kareem on the show too. So we had a whole deep dive about all this. It was such a great episode. This honestly, okay, we went off on a bit of a tangent, but it's cool that this is actually a topic I'm very passionate about, very interested in. We'll have another conversation off camera about all these things. Got some things to tell you.
You know what? If I ever launch this podcast, I'll have you on the show.
I would be honored. That'd be absolutely yes. You have it here confirmed. Yes.
Confirmed.
You just tell me when, anytime.
Yeah.
And so sorry on the podcasting side now. What I've learned in my experience, Ibrahim, is because a lot of people will come to me and be like, oh, we have this amazing guest. Oh, we have this guest. Oh, we have that guest. Now, I'm reflecting on my journey and my experience. And alhamdulillah, I've had the pleasure of having people like yourself, incredibly well-known, amazing guests who have so much knowledge and expertise. What I've learned is really the guest can help, but it's very, very minimal. Honestly, what I've learned is, because even if you get a big guest, they can have 1 million followers. Mm-hmm. If they post about it, maybe that episode does well, but that doesn't mean you're now a follower of the podcast. That doesn't mean you're now a subscriber to the channel. So the whole guest aspect, I'm like, it's not that it's not important, but for me, from my experience so far, that's not the most important thing that you should be focusing on. What would you say? How's your experience been so far? What do you think?
So I've had guests who've had a lot of followers, hundreds of thousands, some of them, and their results, their numbers on my podcast weren't the best, weren't great. So number one, followers doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It could mean a bit of exposure. It could get a head start in terms of numbers, but it really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And I've had guests who don't have this much following, right? But the substance of what they spoke about, the content was awesome, was really good, right? And just that drove word of mouth. People who would listen to their show, their episode, shared that episode with their friends, saying things like, listen to this show, it's pretty cool. And that made the show pick up, right?
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't say followers is important more than the substance of what the guests have to talk about.
Sure. So, and how have you brought your background in marketing and media with over 14 years? I know you've done lots of different areas, and especially now that launching your own podcast is you have your own project now that you can bring all this knowledge into. So how significant has that experience been to impact the growth of your show to this point?
Look, it's given me confidence in asking the right questions to my guests.
Okay.
Right.
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I'm bringing guests from the marketing industry.
Yeah.
Right. How would I know what kind of questions to ask them, right, that can drive interest if I haven't had this experience behind me, So from my experience in media, I've seen what works, what doesn't work, right? So I'm able to ask the right questions and get the value from these guests.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I was working with my coach, so my work process typically was, let's say I'd reach out to Ibrahim. I'm like, okay, I know this Ibrahim's area of expertise. This is what I'm going to talk to him about on the podcast. We record, great. I edit, and then I do the packaging. So the intro, the edits, all that stuff. But working with him, he's like, Khalid, you have to kind of flip it. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you have to do the packaging first. You have to have an idea at least of what the title is going to be, what the thumbnail is going to look like. Do research on what are the main questions people are asking about marketing today. Because guess what? And then those become the questions that you will bring into the show because you find out that's what everyone wants to know.
Yeah.
So it's still a work in progress for me to bring that into it. I'm still doing the packaging after, but maybe now 50-50 in the middle, But I think it's such a different way of looking at how you go about podcasts because I don't think anyone is looking at it from that such an analytical, perspective.
It's important. It's very important. I cannot confirm it.
Sure.
But I heard that digital streaming platforms, they basically take into account the first paragraph onto your podcast to sort of rank your podcast. So the things you talk about inside the podcast, if that's something that people are looking for, they're searching, then that will prioritize your podcast in the ranking.
Okay, I didn't know that.
This is why it's important to research. All right, so if you're gonna do a podcast about marketing, look up what are people searching, and make sure that you are using these keywords within the first few minutes of the discussion.
Yeah. No, actually, great. That's great. That's really good advice. Actually, that's really good advice. Working learning about YouTube, I realized things about click-through rates, watch time. I never understood how important the intro was, or that hook that we've been talking about, because that is, even if you increase your click-through rate from 2 to 3%, even that 1% increase could result in hundreds, maybe not crazy, but hundreds of more views. And this is where you touched on it earlier in the sense of the data aspect, how this plays into it, and that when you're looking at your podcast, what are the data points for you personally that you are tracking the metrics of success? Is it just the downloads, or is it impression? What for you as Ibrahim, okay, that was a good episode. This could have been let's learn from this one and apply it to this new episode now.
I definitely look at downloads. Because for me it's an indication on how many people are coming to the podcast and listening to episodes. I don't look at downloads for one episode. I look at overall downloads week on week, right? Because it tells me that people are coming to the channel and they're watching different videos.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly, yeah.
And more people are coming and they're watching different videos, right? So that's a sort of a metric for overall engagement with the channel. The other metric I look at is obviously subscribers, but subscribers, we're talking audio.
Audio.
Audio. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anghami. And that helps me understand how many people enjoyed the content and wanna listen to more content, right? As and when it becomes available.
Have you ever compared the audio statistics with your YouTube statistics?
Yeah.
Have you seen it? Have you seen?
Huge difference.
There's completely different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Where was the?
I'll tell you, man. I told you earlier. Podcast audience is different.
Yeah.
They're way more dialed in.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you see the same. The the listen time.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, or the engagement rate on audio is way higher than video. That's because not everyone on YouTube is connected to listen to podcasts or to watch podcasts.
That's true. And now these platforms like Spotify and Apple, like they're introducing this. They want to compete, with YouTube by having discoverability.
Yeah.
And now you can have video. Like even mine, you can watch it if you want on Spotify. But it's interesting. Like when I was looking at my data on audio, like the highest markets were the US, UK, and like I don't know, South Africa or something. Those are my 3 top markets. The UAE was like, and the Middle East was like way below.
Yeah.
But then on video, it's like 90% like UAE or like the region or whatever, and then it breaks down into smaller markets. So it's just, and I guess it kind of touches on as well the content consumption part we were talking about earlier. How in this part of the world I think we are big video consumers here, which might be the reason why it's being pushed more into this kind of audience.
Yeah. Podcast is huge also in the US.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
it's huge in the US. And man, YouTube, even if you show your video to people who listen to podcasts on YouTube, they have other things they do on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that they also subscribe to other channels. Who's fascinating on YouTube nowadays?
Tell me.
Piers Morgan.
Piers Morgan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like his content.
Yeah.
Is sort of a little bit of podcast type content, right?
Yeah.
He's also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
No way.
He is, yeah.
Oh,
he puts it in the video, like on the bottom. He tells people at the beginning.
Okay, so
his videos are podcasts.
Oh, okay. It's so interesting. I've never looked at his show that way because it's very like.
It's like a news.
Very newsy. It seems like very interview, based.
Yeah.
More or less than a conversation. At least my perspective. That's really interesting, though.
Because of the video, you think that.
Exactly.
Because he's interviewing, and the way that he basically displays the guests, it looks like it's a news channel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But in essence, if he could have well done a studio like this one, right, and sat his guests. Even though it would have been kind of awkward, right?
This intimate,
to be this close, right? But he could have done that. He could have done that as well, right?
That's true.
But you can see how he's basically adapted to YouTube.
And by the way, that's really interesting. I really never looked at it that way. But imagine having that like this intimate. It would be an absolute like hands would go for sure if it was like this. I know you said that listening to the podcast that you're looking to change the format, right? So going from longer to shorter duration, different engagement formats, more engaging, more maybe like roundtables kind of discussions. Yeah. I'm curious what from your perspective, because how is Ibrahim thinking about this? What's the reason you're making these adjustments?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because I heard I remember who said that, but it really clicked in my head at the Podfest festival that happened last year. Someone said that the reason why the podcast landscape in the MENA region isn't picking up as fast as the US is because of the type of podcast content that people are putting out there here.
Okay.
Basically, the type of content is very limited to just conversational interviews. You know, maybe 90% of it is it's just two people just having a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or one interviewer and a guest.
Yeah.
Whereas in the States, you have different types of podcasts.
Yeah,
content.
for sure. Yeah, lots of comedy stuff.
Lots of comedy. Yeah. Lots of drama.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of detective.
True
thriller,
crime. Yeah.
True crime.
Mm-hmm.
True crime is huge.
Yeah, it's massive.
You have now also like mental health, like meditation. You have 5-minute video of someone giving you an inspirational speech. So there are different types of sound content, you know, that are coming out of the States and are helping grow the industry over there. Yeah. But here it's limited to just conversational. So hearing that made me think that, okay, maybe I should start, testing other types of formats. Perhaps maybe now I bring in more people and have a form of a debate. Maybe I do like a game show, for example.
Okay,
maybe I bring two people with opposing views, and make it more interesting.
Darby Seer has started to do this now. If you pay attention, every couple months now, he posts there's debate videos.
Really?
He brings 3-4 people and they have debates. Yeah.
But the challenge I'm facing here is the space. You don't have studios today that offer that kind of setup, that kind of format, right? If you want to do opposing views. So you can get space for 4 guests or 2 guests, but not more.
Yeah.
Another idea is to do also like a live show.
Yeah, a lot of the big podcasters do that.
Audience, and you can ask the audience to also ask questions. You can also ask, if you do it live, you can ask people to ask questions online. So there are a lot of things you can do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explore different opportunities or formats. With the time I have.
Yeah, right? I know.
Full-time job also,
I know, and that's why
that's
why it's impressive that you've built what you've built while having a full-time job. So give yourself some credit, bro. It's Thanks, great stuff you're doing. And I'm curious, how has because I think you've done some roundtables. How is that experience for you? I'll explain why. Me personally, I've done podcasts, I've done live podcasts with audiences and whatever, and it's me and 2 people, and I'm obviously the host. And I'm just never a fan, man. It's not. They go great, but me personally, as Khalid, I'm because I come up with context, whatever, and I'm asking an Ibrahim, and you'll talk and be great. And now, what do you? I don't like that. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
Being a moderator, I mean.
Yeah, I don't like that. It's too. When you have 2 people, you want to give each person the right, the time to speak, the time to answer, the time to whatever.
Yeah.
There's you have to be quite strict with it, and it takes away from this when it's just me and you talking, and it's nice and fluid, and we can go up and down and do all that stuff. So that's just my experience. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a preference. That's all.
It's the audience basically that you're limiting your content to.
True.
Right.
True.
So lots of people appreciate that kind of intimacy one-on-one.
Yeah.
But if you want to tap into other audiences that may be looking for something a little bit more engaging, right?
Yeah.
You might want to change your content a little bit, or also post other kinds of content, right?
Yeah. Great. Again,
it doesn't mean that this is dead. This is
of course not. You
continue to do this. There's an audience for it.
Of course.
But to get another audience to come and sign up, then you might need to try other things.
Yeah. See, again, it's there's so many points in the conversations that Ibrahim, you've said things that I'm why it could be like that, or why not? I don't know. I feel maybe before we started this conversation, I had, like the horse with like the blinders on, and this is what I thought and whatever. So it's nice to be like, okay, show me what else is going on in the world. And wanted to round off, Ibrahim, with just 3 more questions for you. So you talked about podcasting and how it hasn't reached a stage yet for it to be sustainable from an income perspective, right? And you know that just as well as I do, podcasts are expensive to run. Even me just building the studio, I invested like 40, 50K. And it's not like the show hasn't been monetized yet. This is something now I'm focusing on for the next half of the year. Yeah. But so podcasting, I feel the payoff with the problem with podcasting is you need to invest. There's a running cost if you don't have the ability to do everything. So that's why over the last 5 years until this month, I do everything. I had to learn it. It took a lot of time. I made a lot of mistakes, but that's how I didn't have to manage my cost. I invested my time instead. So I'm trying to understand, like, for you, if you're saying at the moment it's not at a stage that it's sustainable yet for it to be like the only thing you do from an income perspective, what do you think, in your opinion, needs to happen for that gap to close? Because I also think brands are starting to, maybe not greatly here, obviously not compared to other markets, but what do you think we need to do to bridge that gap to make it could be like a full-time career thing, that you can just do this?
I think one of the things that needs to happen is brands need to understand the impact of podcast advertising versus other channels. It may not deliver the same reach as other channels, but it does deliver high impact, very, very high impact. I'll give you an example. So I bring in on the show the CTO of a certain company.
Okay.
This is just illustrative. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I bring in the CTO of a decent company, right? The reach of this episode that I shoot with the CTO, that I record with CTO, is not massive. It's not mass media, right? Let's say it's in the hundreds. Okay. Now let's think about a potential advertiser for this episode, right? Let's take a tech company. Okay. A tech vendor, right? This tech vendor may choose to run ads on social media, right, to sell its products, raise awareness, get people to maybe buy into the products. Who is the target audience of this tech vendor?
People in the tech space, yeah, of course.
A CTO, for example.
Exactly, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
How much do you think this tech vendor should be willing to pay in order to put its ad on a podcast? A lot of money.
Yeah.
Why? Because the CTO will 100% re-listen to his podcast, right? And not just him, even his entourage, even his team. And guess whose ad's going to be on that episode?
Literally yours. Exactly.
Tech vendor.
Yeah.
Right? Don't you feel that this is way more valuable than mass media? So here's the catch. You're able to get in front key personnel, key decision makers in a very, very intimate way. You know what I mean? So this is the value that I think podcast advertising brings to advertisers versus other channels.
Yeah.
You get in front of very, very high important decision makers. Yes, maybe in the dozens, but super, super relevant, right?
Yeah.
For your product.
Yeah, it's the exact person that you're looking for, and it's like you said, podcast audiences are premium because they're spending time with you and me every week to consume our content, as opposed to all the other content that we're competing with, all around the world. So they're engaged and they're investing their time, and everyone, like, you look at the data, 60% more brand favorability, like everything pushes you to make sense. But
having said that, of course, sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Please.
Perhaps this is a great B2B example. Right? Maybe B2C, maybe podcast advertising isn't made for diapers or B2C, right? Or I don't know, I guess consumer products.
Yeah. It's interesting. In the States, it's like, if you look at the ads that go in the States, a lot of it's a combination of products and services.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too much. Like, I think it's more, it seems in the States, at least, from what I've seen. Again, I don't know the data, guys. It seems more B2C than B2B.
Yeah, the reach is very high in the States.
That's
right.
Why,
but when your guest is very important, it doesn't matter. Then the reach won't matter.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I think this is one thing that brands also are unaware of, is they don't understand that, kind of on the point you made. You got the CTO of this big company, right? Just from a brand awareness perspective, if you have a podcast and you're able to bring big people, reputable people in their industries on the podcast, you associating your brand with you're leveraging on their authority is like a no-brainer. But I think marketing teams, maybe in the region yet, if you're looking at an entire marketing strategy, there isn't a podcast strategy. Not necessarily just to launch your own, potentially, but where do we want to spend on podcasts? And a lot of the conversations I have sometimes with clients is, I'm not telling you to spend more. I'm telling you, do you have a pot? Instead of putting it here, I'm just telling you to put it here instead. And I think we need to get to a place that podcast becomes like an additional guaranteed thing, top of mind, to include in every marketing strategy before to get to that next level. Would that be fair to say? From your opinion?
I think that would be very fair. I think it sits very well in a sort of a specific space in marketing, which is the consideration and intent space more than the awareness. And so what I'm trying to say is, any brand that's looking to create, that's after consideration and intent for its products, podcast is very, very helpful.
Yeah, that's the one to go for. Yeah. Ibrahim, man, I wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much today for coming, man. I've been wanting to have you on the show since we first met back in the day, and it's been a fucking fantastic conversation, as I knew it would be. Just have two more questions for you. These are questions I ask all my guests. So, looking back at your life, when I ask you the question, looking back at your life, either personally or professionally, when I ask you the question, what are you most proud of for yourself? What would you say?
Who or what?
You. What are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I'm proud of being the kid that I was growing up. I'm proud of thinking that I would do great things growing up. I'm proud of doing all these sports activities that helped me deal with all the heat and stress. I'm proud of that from a young age, right? Because I guess that built up the appetite for me to continue, training today. That helps me a lot. And I'm proud of taking risks also. Like, I think it's very important to take risks. You will never know, how far you can get if you don't knock those doors, right?
That's true. Yeah, man, 100%. And it kind of touches on everything we talked today about test, take that risk, because you're never going to learn or move or accelerate how fast you move if you don't take these risks. So I 100% agree. And I once bought a t-shirt that said no risk, no reward. And I'm like, yeah, it's just that. You know what I'm saying? But also calculated. Yeah, I'm not saying like throw it all away.
Yeah.
Simple but true, right?
Yeah.
And for my last question, Ibrahim, what is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
The last message I have is subscribe to Khalid's channel. I think it's a really good podcast.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I think you're a great host.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
And I'd like to thank you for having me on your show. It's been an honor.
It was my pleasure, honestly.
And a really great experience. You've been an amazing host. And yeah, I look forward to the next episode also.
Habibi, thank you so much, man. That's very, very kind of you. I really, really appreciate that. Before we let everyone go, tell us about the podcast. Where can we, if anyone wants to work with you, listen to the podcast, where can we get in touch?
Yeah, so my podcast is Below the Fold on YouTube, Below the Fold podcast on Instagram, Below the Fold on LinkedIn. You just, search Below the Fold, and hopefully my SEO is good enough for my page to show up in the ranks. If it's not, I have work to do.
Well, I can tell you on YouTube, because I searched it. It was the first. I searched Below the Fold, and it came up podcast, and you were the first one. So it's working. So the SEO is good. So I can confirm that to you. You're
SEO,
good.
maybe a little bit of paid advertising. So just maybe some encouragement for you.
Please, yeah, of course, man. Now I need to test in these areas. No, so absolutely not, man. Yeah. Ibrahim, man, thank you so much. We'll make sure to put everything in the show notes. Just thank you so much, bro, for coming on your show, for your time. I really appreciate what you've done in such a short amount of time. You've really set yourself, like on the personal branding side, you've really set yourself, as a key, like the voice of marketing in a way, a key player in the industry, a key voice, and you bring amazing people on the show. And I'm so excited to see what the new formats are going to be, where you take the show over the next, few years. And just thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Guys, everyone listening, thank you so much. Please make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe, as he said, to the podcast. I hope it helps Paul on all channels. And as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace. Yeah!
Let's go.
And that's another episode in the bag, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, podcasting is like this massive jigsaw puzzle, and my job is to help you find that missing piece. So if you're someone who's looking to launch your own podcast or take their podcast to the next level, you can book a call today and let's get started. TikTok.